Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 11th of September 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the Russia-Ukraine conflict that has entered its 929th day. Today the Ukrainian Air Force says it has shot down 20 of 25 Russia-launched drones overnight into Wednesday, whereas Russia's Ministry of Defense says its troops have pushed forward 1,000 square kilometers into eastern Ukraine since early August, despite Ukraine's offensive into western Russia. A Russian freight train has also derailed in the region of Belgorod near the Ukrainian border after the intervention of non-authorized people. No casualties were reported there, but of course, since we're talking of this, the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy are also traveling to Kiev in a rare joint trip to show their solidarity with Zelensky. What's going to be the fate of this conflict as well that has gone way beyond 2 years? We will try to decipher some aspects of it in our first segment. Our second story concerns quaideazam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's 76th death anniversary. The Quaid has said so many important things. He is the one who has been instrumental in the creation or the independence of Pakistan on the 14th of August 1947. He said, and I repeat, with faith, discipline and selfless devotion to duty, there is nothing worthwhile that you cannot achieve. We'll be highlighting different aspects of his speeches and what he stood for and what we need today on his death anniversary follow as far as his quotes are concerned, as far as his discipline and unity and faith is concerned. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the case of monkeypox. Now, there are different cases of monkeypox that have been reported in Pakistan. This time, this is the 5th case of monkeypox that has been reported in our country in Lower Dir, and the person who came from the Gulf countries and has been confirmed to be carrying the monkeypox virus. This has also been confirmed by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Health. What needs to be done? Of course, the government is doing the needful. It is also enhancing border security and also at the different important areas such as the airports. But the fact is that we need to be vigilant when it comes to monkeypox. Finally, the European Union has scored a big win in the court against both Apple and Google. Now, the EU's top court yesterday delivered 2 major victories in their rulings against Apple and Google in separate legal sagas worth billions of euros at stake. The EU Court of Justice ruled that the iPhone maker must pay 13 billion euros in back taxes to Ireland, and the court also upheld a 2.4 billion euro fine against Google, one of a string of high-profile EU competition cases targeting the tech giant. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns the Russia-Ukraine conflict war that has now entered its 929 days. Can you imagine? The 900 plus days have passed since this war began. We've been joined in the studios by Nasir Ali Khan Sahab. He's a former ambassador at large. Thank you very much, Nasir Sahab, to have joined us. Pleasure to have you in the studios. Nasir Sahab, Ukraine strikes the Moscow region on Tuesday in its biggest drone attack so far on the Russian capital, kills at least one woman, wrecks dozens of homes and forces around 50 flights to be diverted from airports across Moscow. Russia says it has destroyed at least 20 Ukrainian attack drones as they swarmed over the Moscow region. Then more than 70 drones were also downed over Russia's Bryansk region and of course many other regions as well. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says that the drone attack was another reminder of the real nature of Ukraine's political leadership, which he says was made up of Russia's enemies. In your point of view, sir, where is all of this leading to? We are 929 days past this war, this conflict. What will happen? What is going to happen? What are you predicting?
Recently, the Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, and the Foreign Secretary of Britain have visited Ukraine. And what you have just spoken about are some of the discussions that are going to take place. Because after the attacks on Kiev and another city, which caused the deaths of several cadets and soldiers, there was this great demand from Mr. Zelensky to give him the equipment, give him the means to strike back in a similar manner. Earlier on, when Ukraine made its inroads into Russian territory, there were two places where they attacked. One was a factory which was making glide bombs, and another was an airport that you might have heard about. So this is an answer to your question. My concern is that it is certainly escalating things. Since a long time now, Mr. Zelensky has been asking for long-range missiles to be able to hit deep into Russia.
But that has been denied so far.
So far. But let me tell you, Britain, for example, has agreed that if others agree, we are willing to supply certain longer range missiles. Now, the other important thing is that without the assent, the agreement of the United States, even if they get missiles, they may not get permission to hit certain targets.
But this is what Joe Biden has also been saying, that they are looking into it, but he has not made any formal or concrete decision regarding that.
The point I'm trying to make is some of the most sensitive installations inside Russia, the intelligence is more with the United States than the Europeans. So let's say he gets missiles, or let's say the United Kingdom agrees to provide him certain kinds of missiles. Those missiles will not be able to cause any serious damage unless the United States cooperates in providing them the intelligence as to the location and importance of those targets. But having said that, you see, now recently you may have heard that Iran has been supplying kamikaze drones to Russia. This is something...
This is an allegation that Iran denies.
Yes, of course, they deny it. But the West also believes that not only have they been supplied these drones, but they have also been licensed. The Russians are now licensed to use the technology and make their own drones based on those designs deep inside central Russia. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, now this recent drone attack that went right up to Moscow has two effects. One, it can cause panic in a city which considered itself safe. And secondly, it also is bad for the morale of the public and the Russian military.
But you speak of morale, Ambassador Saab. Do you feel that morale 2 years down the lane is anything but low, whether it be in Ukraine or whether it be in Russia, of the people?
Yes, but if you imagine an attack on the border as opposed to that an attack on the capital, suddenly you would start worrying seriously. I'm talking about the ordinary public.
I understand.
Because Russia has some of the most advanced anti-missile systems in the world. The S-400 and now the S-500 is considered to be one of the best shields against incoming missile attacks. But these drones are much smaller, lower flying, and they can cause a lot of damage. Not serious damage, but as I said, panic and damage to morale, you see.
Nasir sir, what about the aerial attacks that have recently happened or have been happening, whether it be Moscow, that is, also fighting off Ukraine, Ukraine fighting off Moscow, in Kursk region, in other regions as well. And of course, with Russia's Ministry of Defense saying its troops have pushed forward 1,000 square kilometers into eastern Ukraine since early August. Ukraine claims fresh advances into its offensive in Russia, saying it has seized over 1,100 square kilometers in the biggest attack by a foreign army on Russian soil since the Second World War. Ukraine also said it controls dozens of settlements and Sudza, of course, a town which is 8 kilometers from the border. How is this advance from both the Russian side and the Ukrainian side going to change the perspective of the war, and in your point of view, do you feel Russia can do the needful to prevent further occupation of its land by Ukraine?
As far as the incursion into Russian territory is concerned, if you look at the map, Russia is one of the largest countries in the world, and the incursion is barely 30-35 kilometers. So that is not a major issue there. Russia, on the other hand, has gone hundreds, if not 1,000 kilometers inside Ukrainian territory. But you see, not only future wars, but now we can see that the wars at present are mostly going to be fought by unmanned aircraft and also through means that use artificial intelligence and satellite intelligence.
Fifth generation warfare.
Well, you can call it that.
I mean, that could be part
You can call it that, but you see, even the Russians have a serious issue with getting recruits for their army. And when they do get recruits, to train them so quickly is a problem. Apart from that, just a few decades ago, tanks, for example, were a very important tool, armor, in making an invasion. Today, there are drones that can easily pierce through tank armor and things like that. So it has just changed the whole paradigm, the whole dynamics of warfare. And
has the paradigm become more lethal in your point of view, Nasir?
I'm sorry, what?
Has the paradigm become more lethal?
Well, it's at this stage, the important thing is that there is less risk to human life, you see. And the point I'm trying to make is, when there is less risk to human life and less body bags coming home, then there is a chance of the conflict being prolonged. You see, there are many interests, especially in the West, who want the war to continue. Not to mention the fact that in a few months there will be the American presidential election, and Donald Trump has said again and again that he is going to finish this war, according to him, even before he takes over as president. Meaning, if I win in November and I'm going to be inaugurated in January, I will start making phone calls, I'll start making sure that, because you see, he believes as a businessman, the fact that the United States has committed about $250 billion to this cause, there is a lot of problems within the United States in terms of unemployment, in terms of derelict and declining infrastructure, in terms of joblessness, all these things that he feels is more important to him. But having said that, the large military industrial complex
thrives on it.
Thrives on it. And one of the reasons that the West was keen to involve Ukraine into NATO was that the pressure from these large corporations that knew that if a new country comes in, they have to now acquire NATO standard weapons, which means we come in. You see, this is a very important thing. But in the next few months, this might change. But in answer to your question, how does this make a difference? The fact that, you see, you are no longer going to have people, infantry, which is going to go in and it is going to be exposed to aerial fire and things like that, and now you are moving more along drones. Russia did that attack on that training facility through drones. And now you've seen yesterday what the Ukrainians are doing. So this war is now continuing on a very high-tech basis with smaller arms, but there is also the psychological impact of all this.
I understand it. 929 days, I mean, the psychological impact of this and of the different aspects of this war are quite important, consequent on the public in both Ukraine as far as and also Russia. You talked about Donald Trump. I'd like to refer to this morning Pakistan Standard Time and yesterday US Times presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, one of the aspects that was also highlighted is in fact the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and they linked it with the Palestinian conflict as well. I thought at least this was the way they were going about it. Trump, in this debate said he is going to press, as you said, to just get this war finished and get it done if he is elected. Kamala Harris accuses Trump of being willing to give up pressure from the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who she said would eat him for lunch, quote unquote. How different, in your point of view, is the diplomatic and the Republican stance on the Ukrainian war?
You see, as far as this debate was concerned, and as far as the Ukraine was concerned, Kamala Harris in the debate did not commit herself one way or the other.
True.
But I believe that the Democratic Party's policies vis-a-vis Ukraine will continue if she is elected. And as far as the Israeli conflict is concerned, although she said that we will always be committed to provide all means for the defense of Israel, but I will definitely push for a two-state solution.
Yes, that
now that was a very important and in my opinion a brave statement, because the Israeli government as it is now and previous governments have always been trying to shift from committing themselves to a two-state solution. Whenever there is talk of that, they try to scuttle it one way or the other. Now, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, I am quite sure that he's a great friend of Israel. His policies will be dictated by what Benjamin Netanyahu might want. So there are many, many incidents and
is he a great friend of Vladimir Putin as well, in your point of view?
I'm not sure. Recently, a very amusing statement was made by Vladimir Putin, in which he basically said that he would be happy if Kamala was elected president. And that was basically to bait and to, create some, I don't know whether it was said tongue-in-cheek or whether it was just said to irritate somebody. But it could also be, on the other hand, if he's really a friend of Trump, by saying that I wish Kamala, it would be dodging the thing and give Trump the opportunity to say that our enemy is endorsing Kamala Harris.
True.
You see? It is an interesting thing.
It is definitely, and in politics we see so many different divergences that it makes the whole arena of politics, especially when it comes to US politics, extremely interesting to decipher. Now, the US has accused Iran, as you yourself said, of having supplied ballistic missiles to Russia for use against Ukraine. But also Britain, France and Germany have announced that they are going to severe aviation agreements with Iran, and also have announced new sanctions targeting Iran's air transport, including the cancellation of bilateral air services agreements with the Islamic republics. Now, the sanctions are targeting also 10 people, 6 companies for their involvement in supporting Iran, and of course that is going to have a huge dent as far as Iran's economy or Iran's foreign relations is concerned. How do you see these developments? Will they affect Russia indirectly in your point of view?
First of all, as far as Iran is concerned, Iran has been sanctioned to the hilt for many, many years.
Yes.
I'm talking about economic, financial sanctions. There isn't much more that they can do to hurt Iran.
True.
What they can do, however, is to sanction those companies who may be supplying components for these drones. For example, there's carbon fiber that's used. There are gyroscopes that are used in the drone to navigate the drone. They might find the source or the suppliers of these components and be able to go and sanction them to prevent them from supplying drones either to Iran or to Russia. But as far as Russia is concerned, a country that is at war with the West doesn't much care about sanctions or anything. They are going to try to get their way whichever way they can. And they have succeeded vis-a-vis China and Iran at least.
Do you feel that these Russian missiles are as big a risk as is being claimed by the US?
Yes, of course. Russia's actual arsenal of missiles, hypersonic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, I mean, they may not be as sophisticated and as state-of-the-art as some of the missiles that the Americans might have or that even the Chinese are developing now. But there is no doubt that their effect can be absolutely devastating, and that's one of the things that Trump keeps saying again and again. If you annoy a country like Russia, if you push it too far, you don't realize what kind of a nuclear arsenal it possesses. And he says, if I was a banker and 2 missiles came in, that would be the end of my bank. So you guys better wake up and see how far you are pushing these people.
All right, last question, I'd like a short answer. China says its special envoy on Eurasian affairs had a phone call recently with Pope Francis' special envoy on Ukraine and discussed the conflict. Do you feel countries like China that have a very strong relation with Russia could play a role in this de-escalation of the conflict?
Yes, if it is in their interest, certainly it can be done. But you know, having said that, I don't want to criticize France as such. But you know, here in the case of Ukraine, you are talking about the sovereignty of a European country.
True.
But look at the conduct of France itself in Africa, in Mali, in Mozambique, even in Libya. You have to consider those countries
but
as
if you look at France's past as a colonizer,
no, I wouldn't
so
like
countries.
to go that far back and specifically, you know, go after the French old colonial. I'm talking about very recent cases when through a Security Council resolution, you go into a country and then even when the problem is apparently solved, I mean, normally you're going in there ostensibly because of terrorism, but once you're there, you never leave. And they say that these people are a threat to our sovereignty and they are here basically to go after our natural resources. So that's just an example, but I'm sorry to go divert from the main topic, but in answer to your question, the day China wants to use its influence on Russia, I think it will make a major difference.
All right. Thank you very much, Nasir Ali Khan Saab, former Ambassador at Large, to have joined us and to have talked to us about a conflict that has now been going on since the last 2 years, and we don't know how much longer it is going to continue, because in the beginning also when this conflict began, we thought it was going to end within a few weeks, and the few weeks and you know, diversified into a few months, and now we are 2 years plus. Let's hope some sanity prevails and some kind of negotiated process brings this conflict to an end temporarily, if not permanently. Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
to have joined us. Let's come to our next segment, and that concerns the 76th death anniversary of Quaideazam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Now, of course, as you very well know, our Qaid's anniversary was observed all across the country, and a lot of pledges were made to follow his golden principles of unity, faith, and disciplines. There were special prayers in mosques, there were prayers for the stability of Pakistan, and proper following of the sayings of our Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. We all know how he worked diligently for Pakistan, for where Pakistan stands now, for the independence and the creation of Pakistan in 1947. Our Qaid passed away on this very day in 1948, shortly after achieving freedom for the nation. Special prayers also were held for the development, prosperity, security and stability of the country and nation. And also, of course, the Mazar-e-Qaid was filled with floral wreaths, whether it be by the Sindh governor, the Sindh chief minister, or many other public from different sects of life in Sindh. Everybody stressed the need for all stakeholders setting aside political differences and working together for the development, stability and the prosperity of the country. I'd like to begin this segment with a quote by Quaideazam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and he said, "My message to all of you is that of hope, courage and confidence. Let us mobilize all our resources in a systematic and organized way and tackle the grave issues that confront us with the grim determination and discipline worthy of a great nation." There are so many messages that our Quaid has given us, and the important thing is to follow them in letter and principle. To observe his death anniversary today, we thought of talking about what he stood for and how important are those very facts today in 2024. We've been joined in the studio to talk about this by Mr. Javed Siddiq. He's a senior analyst. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us, and we'll also be joined online by another guest a bit later in the show. Let's begin with you, Javed Saab. Javed Saab, what are the most important values and principles as well as the philosophy that Pakistan was founded about that have been highlighted time and again by our Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah? We are of course referring to him because as the topic suggests, today is his death anniversary, but I think there is no day important enough like this one or any other day to talk about the principles that he stood for.
Thank you so much. First of all, we all as a nation are indebted to Quaideazam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the father of the nation.
Indeed.
Who created a separate homeland for the Muslims of the subcontinent. And it's a great achievement. Historically, when we look at this event of the creation of Pakistan, it is a very, very important, it is a monumental kind of event. So we must thank him that he gave us, the Muslims of the subcontinent, a separate homeland. And we realize now the Muslims who were left behind, the plight of those Muslims, the sufferings of those Muslims are a stark reminder that we are lucky enough that we got a separate homeland. Quaideazam made it very clear before the creation of Pakistan that Pakistan is going to be a democratic, Islamic welfare state. That was the program, that was the manifesto which Quaideazam pronounced before the creation of Pakistan. There are so many interviews and questions were asked by Western journalists as to what is your vision about the future of Pakistan. So he said that it's going to be an Islamic, democratic
welfare state.
And he also made a very, very important speech on August 11, in which he made it clear that after the creation of Pakistan, all citizens of this country are equal. And he assured the minorities that their rights, their religious freedom is going to be protected by the new country, Pakistan, under the constitution and law of this country. Quaideazam also urged this new nation to work, work and work. He also emphasized the discipline. He wanted this nation to be very, very disciplined, hardworking and disciplined. And he wanted us to be a prosperous nation, having peaceful relations with the neighboring countries as well as with the world at large. So these were the main contours of the policy enunciated by Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
All right. We've also been joined, ladies and gentlemen, online by Dr. Shoaib Ahmed. He's an educationist and somebody who joins us in this show after a very, very long hiatus. Dr. Shoaib, I hope you and your family are fine, and welcome to my show, Newsroom. Today is an important day, and of course for you, who's been reading, who's been following the principles of Quaid, it is very important to also educate that to the youth as well. But I'd like to begin with what our Prime Minister said. The message that our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said on the occasion has many important and varied aspects to it that I'd like to highlight with you. He says, our Prime Minister says that the nation commemorates the anniversary with, of course, with profound respect and reverence. He also said Quaideazam stood as one of the most visionary politician and eminent statesman in history. He adeptly led the freedom movement of the Muslims of the subcontinent, establishing the first Islamic ideological state in the world. He also said that the freedom movement that led to the creation of Pakistan in 1947 serves as a testament to Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's political acumen, visionary leadership, reflects his dedication to the principles of democracy and the rule of law. How important, in your point of view, were all those principles then? How important are all those principles for the Muslims of the region, especially Pakistan, now? All right. We have some technical issue with Dr. Shoaib, so we'll get back to him with this very question, but I'll go to the next question with Javed Siddiq Sahab. Javed Sahab, the Quaid's unwavering commitment to the principles of democracy, social justice, equality have laid the foundation for a nation where every citizen could aspire to thrive despite diverse cultures. You've talked about that while answering my first question. His emphasis on unity and faith has resonated deeply within the fabric of our society, reminds us of the strength of Pakistan that lies in its diversity and its inclusiveness. How important are these principles in this day and age?
I think this is the most important message, and this is the most important instruction given to this newly born nation of the Muslims of the subcontinent. He wanted us to be united. He wanted unity in diversity. He knew that there are 5 provinces then, and people were speaking different languages with different cultures and different languages as well. But he wanted us to be united, and so unity, faith, and discipline. These were the fundamental principles which Quaid-e-Azam wanted us to follow, and through these principles, we could have made this country a very, very strong nation of the world. We made mistakes, of course, but I think these principles, unity, faith, and discipline, still are so important for us to become a united nation, to become a nation which wants to prosper, move forward in accordance with the principles laid down by the father of the nation. So I think Quaid's vision was that Pakistan, being an Islamic state and being a democratic state, it should provide equal opportunities to all citizens of this country. He was against favoritism. He was against nepotism. He was against all the ills that we are afflicted with these days. So he was a strong advocate of a united nation, a united Pakistani nation. Diversity is a beauty of a nation. So he wanted us to be diverse, but at the same time united when it comes to national cause.
Exactly. I think what he always said was unity in diversity, and this is what we need to apply in this day and age as well. Dr. Shoaib, our visionary politician, eminent statesman, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, had a remarkable political acumen, visionary leadership, his dedication to the principles of democracy and the rule of law that led to the freedom movement and the creation of Pakistan. How important was the freedom movement for the Muslims of the region?
Thank you very much, Omar, and it's been a long time we have not met, and it's been always a treat to watch you and to listen you and to talk to you. Coming to your question, Omar, most of the time I usually had something like this in my mind. In the presence of some great and such a big personalities in subcontinent, like we had at that time Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawhar, Maulana Shaukat Ali, then Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, Allama Muhammad Iqbal. In the presence of such a giant personalities, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and why he was honored to become the founder of this nation? What was his unique quality through which he led the freedom movement at that time? And this is such an important thing, which to me is a kind of landmark. It is a kind of guideline. Is a kind of you can say track which is required to be followed by the politician of our present time. What was the significance of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah during this whole phase of his life, or during the whole phase of this freedom movement? He was a constitutionalist. let me tell you a very important thing, that he was a great constitutionalist, and he always worked under the domain of constitution, under the domain of law. He never tried to breach any you can say path, anything which is against the law. And this, his constitutional approach has given us this Pakistan. You know, when we talk about the freedom movement in the presence of a mighty British Empire and a very large Hindu community, which were, at that time in front of Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah, you can only win this country, or you can say you won this whole his effort. It is just because of his constitutional approach. And you know, another very important thing which I've gone through many times through his different phases of life, and what I saw very distinguishing characteristic about his character, that he never tried to run away from the negotiations. He always welcomed his worst enemy, and you can take the example of Jinnah Gandhi talks. This is those talks have a great significance in the history of subcontinent, because that was the first ever time when Mahatma Gandhi has realized that there is a person who is the sole representative of the subcontinent, of the Muslims of subcontinent. So to me, these two are the distinguishing, you can say, distinguished characteristics of Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. One is his constitutional approach, and this has to be learned by every single individual of this country. I must not say it is only for the leadership of this country, or it is for the common man of this country, or for the students of this country. His constitutional approach, when you come across any trouble, any problem, you must act under the domain of law. You must not try to breach the law. This is what I have personally learned from his life. And second, you do not run away from the negotiation. You know, this was the greatest tool in his hands. And for negotiation, we know that for having a good negotiation, you must have your homework completed. And this is what I have learned from the life of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. There are plenty of, you can say, rhetoric, and we use so many words for his mighty character and his achievements. But these are the two things. To me, he was one of the blessed creature and a blessed human being in this world who got Pakistan for us. And it is not, this Pakistan is not with any sword, not with any other thing. It was not with the help of any demonstration, or you coming on streets and you are just doing every lawlessness. No. And at present, Omar, let me tell you this very important thing, that in present circumstances, the circumstances through which we are going at the moment, and the kind of environment of which our youth is watching around, this is very important. Every single segment of this society sit together and talk about the future of Pakistan. They must
life of the Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah and reflect upon what he said to us and follow those in the right spirit. Stay online with us, Javed Saab. Our Prime Minister talks about the values of integrity, hard work and patriotism that Jinnah embodied. He says we need to renew our pledge to work tirelessly towards the realization of a Pakistan that exemplifies the ideals of Jinnah. A nation where peace prevails, justice is served and every citizen has the opportunity to flourish. How important are these pledges?
These are the most fundamental principles for which the father of the nation stood. And he was an embodiment of all these principles. When Quaideazam was leading this nation, he was creating practical examples for our leaders who would follow him. He wanted them to be just and to be fair and to be very, very precise about their duties, the discharging of their duties. Quaideazam himself said, work, work and work. So he wanted this nation to be a hard-working nation. Today, when we find ourselves in quagmire of problems, we realize that how important and how lofty these principles were, which were enunciated by Quaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and he gave us this message that you have to build this nation, the newly born nation of Pakistan, on the basis of these principles, working hard and keeping your integrity. And he was, as I said earlier, that he was against all kinds of favoritism, all kind of nepotism.
True.
And he wanted our bureaucracy, our administration, and our justice system to be as just as possible.
All right.
And that is the fundamental of any society. You cannot create
flourish a society cannot flourish without proper principles.
Exactly.
And I agree with you on that. And our Quaid has laid down those principles. Dr. Shoaib, last question to you. I'd like a short answer. How do you view Jinnah's struggles and vision? If I were to ask you to embody that in a couple of phrases, what would those struggles and vision represent?
4 things: character, courage, hard work, and determination. These are the 4 pillars which we have learned from the life of Quaideazam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And if we wanted to become again the kind of nation which was dreamed by our great Quaid, we must have the and you know, for the leadership, this leadership is always based on 3 R's: the respect, the representativeness, and the reputation. If we worked on these 3 things, okay, we must build our respect. And you know, respect has to be earned by someone. It is not a kind of thing which is available. Then the reputation, and then the representativeship.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Shoaib Ahmed, to have also joined us. And it was lovely to hear from you and see you after a very, very long time. Hope we keep on talking in the days to come. Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Shoaib. Thank you very much, Javed Siddiq Saab, to have come all the way to the studios to discuss Quaideazam. I think we need to discuss our Quaid and what he stood for more regularly than this. Before we end the show, I'll just very, very quickly talk about the 5th monkeypox case, as well as the European Union's courts that have scored big against both Google and Apple. I think these are steps for monkeypox. We need to be extremely vigilant, careful, and the government is doing the needful, but we also as citizens need to be more careful and more wary of such incidents. And as far as EU is concerned, against Apple and Google, they have scored big, and I think both Apple and Google will be very wary now in the days to come. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.